Hello there. I'm Frank. How are you doing? I've been wanting to try to make drawing videos for a while now, but I've always been unhappy or have a hard time finishing them. And I figured since this is the best way to do it, and I hate myself, I'm going to be using watercolor on newsprint. Let's have fun. That I think this is the cleanest hair I've got newsprint out of this pad. Let's use this sheet as a test for how colors look. I already have a swatch sheet, essentially, of the colors for this watercolor set. I'll put an image right here of like what brand it is. I forget at the moment. But I essentially did this color swatch test and stuff like that. You see a printy from this guy. I like printies. Yeah, so I just kind of messed around with a bit of it a while ago. So I just keep this sheet of smooth bristle board, which is essentially this stuff. Same brand as the Newsprint. But it's a lot thicker and can take watercolor a lot better. So, yeah. Newsprint is literally the cheapest kind of paper you can get. It's like the worst paper you can get. It's literally what newspapers are made of. That's why it's called newsprint. So, voiceover Frank here because I hated all of my talky bits in, well, the video itself. So I'm just going to talk about it instead. So here we are. This is just me just color swatching all the different colors because the colors do appear differently from my original Bristol board paper. They appear a little bit more dull aside from like some of the reds and blues. But the browns and the lighter tan tones tended to be a lot more desaturated and stuff like that. And this is just my reference sketch that I did in my sketchbook, which, despite the sketchbook paper not being made for watercolor, it definitely handled it a lot better than the newsprints. I think I like the newsprint drawing overall because I spent a lot more time on it. But I like the rock and water a lot more than it ended up in the newsprint. So yeah, I even decided to change the pose a bit to have the arm coming out instead. One thing about it is like having your hand under her thigh just is like, is it getting crushed by the rock? That wouldn't be the most comfortable position. Probably should have thought about it a little bit more. But this was just kind of more of a spur of the moment kind of video that I did thought of yesterday. In fact, I didn't even decide what I wanted to draw until the in-between cut of me showing what I wanted to do. Then when you saw the sketchbook get placed down, that was where that was the time where I actually finished the actual idea of what I wanted to draw. I'm kind of happy how the sketch came out. The what would be her left leg looks a bit small compared to the rest of her body. I probably would have ended up changing that if I spent a little bit more time looking on it. And here came like the thing that made me just go, well, this is not going to turn out well. As you can see, despite the character supposed to be, generally lighter tone, yeah, it just kind of looked like mud. It wasn't like a tan color either. It was just straight up mud looking. So that was a big problem. But once I realized after looking at the face again, being the first thing I started watercoloring, I noticed that if it dries, it comes out the proper color. So I just went a little bit more ham into the actual skin. And as you see, like it's like a really dark, muddy gray, which is by no means intentional. But as you see here, this is like one of the few times where I just straight up showed the paint drawing. I was kind of having this idea just showing like a time lapse timer that just appears on the screen, but I don't know how to actually make one look good. Uh, but yeah, so I just took eventually a hair dryer and just air dried it really fast because I wanted to get going. Plus, it was a thin enough, I thought, area that was sporadic enough where it wouldn't create as bad of warping, uh, which thankfully didn't warp that much. It definitely warped later, but I was always kind of careful, let up when I needed it to. Here in with the bathing suit, as you see where it's like tied, the skirt part, uh, I left I'm sorry for like my stuttering. Uh, use your words. I left white space in between. Stop saying Okay. In between the knot and the skirt and just all the individual parts. Then I went over it again with a different color. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. Then I went into the hair. Just with the typical brown. I didn't want to really go too crazy with the hair. If I make the hair like a more of a abnormal color, I tend to go a lot more into detail with it, because I just like pretty looking colorful hair. But since I was just trying to like get this to work, I decided to go with brown hair since I think it would just look better. And a lot of the more earthy colors, a lot of the reds, the skin tone and stuff worked a lot better than I thought, while stuff like with the blues got muddy really quickly. And if I was working on this with bristle board, the water probably would have came out a lot more fine. It's just generally the stuff that weren't necessarily all that earthy, like the pinks, the purples, and stuff like that, didn't really come out the best. Here, I just went with the what I think is supposed to be the true base light skin tone. The initial layer I put down, I think, is more meant for sand or that sort of kind of lighter tone. But it just happens to work as a very, very light base skin tone. Then when with that, which I noticed I had a lot of weird green spots in it. I thought it was just dirty, but then I remembered that no matter how light or dark the skin tone is, the skin always has like a tiny bit of green in it. So if you're having trouble getting like whether it's a lighter or darker skin tone to look right, that isn't just like, oh, this straight up looks like wood, or oh, this just straight up looks like sand, or something like that. Try putting like just a teeny dash of green into the mix. It should be the lightest of any of the colors you mixed in, but that's how you can kind of get a more realistic skin tone. So, yeah, that's kind of neat about the set because it has a lot of weird spots in it. It's probably how they mixed it and probably didn't like truly mix all that well or broke down or something. Because I tried wiping it off and it just like uncovered more. But anyway, here I went with a smaller brush with the brown hair and did some of the details. I also did mixed in a different, more reddish brickish brown into it to try to get more kind of like a bit of a minor color gradient to it. But as it dried, it became less noticeable. As you see here, I just kind of cut where it was dried. And yeah, so right here we see just kind of the rock that I tried to color in. And I thought I got this part. I guess I did not. Oh yeah, originally in my editing, since I deleted all my post narration beforehand, I went back to it again, and I just forgot to edit this part out. Anyway, here you just see like this is supposed to be like how long like it's just supposed to be. This took like over half an hour to properly dry, just like air dry. Because I was afraid that since this was just yeah, here we go. The almost 10,000% speed. yeah, I just kind of wanted to air dry just to see how long it could, and since it was a lot more just a wide flat area, I was kind of afraid that it would wrinkle really badly. Here, I just went back in and just put in some darker shadows here and there with the skin, using the same skin color that I mentioned before that had a bit of the green in it. You can kind of see the green from the camera. Overall, the camera kind of made everything look even extra desaturated. It looks a lot more contrasty in person. Uh, so yeah, I just went back and went to some of the other parts. I'm not the most realistic drawer, as you can tell, but I tried to like at least try to make it look right, which is like my motto. Is like as long as it looks right and looks good, it's good. But like I said, I probably would have made her leg that I just shadowed in a bit with a bit more. I would have just made it just generally bigger and longer. Probably had like the kneecap go towards where her thumb is, in terms of just like lengthening it and just making the thigh a bit thicker to match it with the other one. Here I try to like be like, oh, I'm gonna be all artsy and stuff. I'm gonna put like a layer of green first to try to like, because the ocean does have a lot more greenish to it, especially if there's like seaweed and stuff in the area. Well, I guess it depends on where you live and what the minerals are in it. But I figured like, oh hey, it'll be like a really nice combo of colors, and that green just kind of punched through most of the blue. It took a lot of work just to try to get the blue in, and this is where I was like afraid the most that I would just like tear the living crap out of the like paper itself, and it's just like I'm putting a lot of water on this. So yeah, I was the most happy with how the water looked, especially how like it completely obscured the leg and stuff like that, and it just kind of looks a bit flat. It probably should have just it doesn't have all that much depth to it. It probably should have made the water look like it went around the leg in the water a little bit more. Here I tried putting like splotches of water. I'm still trying to get water down. As you can tell, I'm not the best artist in the world. I tried my best though. So I tried punching in a lot of white here to try to add a lot more lightness to it, to try to like obscure the green a bit, but you can always see the green like very heavily. It just kind of destroyed it. I kind of regret putting that green there. So yeah, I just try to get that effect where like the camera's like partially obscured or partially covered by the water, so you kind of get that like slice sort of thing. Probably wasn't the best idea because I probably just should have let it just go all the way down for the top. I think that just would have worked better. I think the overall water level should have been higher if I was trying to go for that. So here's the second thing I kind of regret. I tried putting some ambient inclusion, I think it's called. I forget my technical term on it. But the idea of like the color of the water is reflecting back onto the person. So I tried doing some of that. Like I said, I'm not the most realistic artist. I probably should have kept it to be a little bit more of a blue color. I tried mixing a bit of green in it. Tried to like at least make it match. And here I took like a widespread brush to try to like spread as much watercolor as I possibly can. And as you can see here, it gets really muddy in the sky. It turns a lot more blue later on. Here I switch brushes because the fan brush wasn't working out. But as you can see there, it's really gray on the top right. But that does turn a lot more blue. So I tried putting a little bit of the white watercolor in the back to try to like kind of get that like mist in the distance sort of look, where like the sky is really saturated up top and it kind of like desaturates and gets lighter as it gets towards the horizon. That's what I was trying to go for. I didn't want to really put any clouds in the image because I figured it was just going to be really, really, really hard to do that. So I didn't. Kind of wish I put a cloud in there. And here, honestly, I cut it to where you see all it dried. And I put some more darker blue, a little bit more purplish blue. Yeah, here I just kind of went in, it's like full in. It's just like, let's just try to get this as sky-ish as possible. Yeah. I thought Sky came out okay, just not the best. Here, as you see at the bottom, I took a white gel pen, a Uniball white Signo, and just kind of did the clear ripples on the top. I kind of like how it turned out a bit. Uh, then I darkened the water again to try to make it as clear as possible. That's supposed to be the under part of the water, and that's supposed to be the top. Um, then I used the same pen to fill in the white of her eye, trying to make it stand out more. Then I highlighted all the parts of her body that was supposed to be getting the most light to also kind of help separate her from the background while also giving some of her other body parts some more highlights to it. The one right under her opened eye, the little speck there, that was by complete accident. My hand just fidgeted, fidget. Bleh. Just kind of jerked a bit, and it was like, oh, it came out right. So that was just a pure accident. So yeah, that's pretty much the drawing right there. Yeah, this is the part I was just talking about, and I just went with some more pencil to try to make the eyelashes a little bit more defined. Yeah, I overall liked how it came out. It definitely came out a lot better than I thought it did. And here's me being an idiot and was trying to show off the watercolor brush that it came with, that the set came with, and I accidentally dripped a few things on it. Don't worry, it's fine right now. It dried perfectly fine. But yeah, here's the image of it. This is partially color corrected, so it's a lot more. I think it's a bit too saturated compared to the original work, but that's how it turned out. I hope you liked the video. I've been trying to do more video stuff and all that, but yeah. Anyway, I thought this was overall a fun video to do. It was definitely an interesting challenge. I like using watercolor. I want to get better at it. I need to get better at environments in general. Not just water, not just a rock. Just environments in general. And hopefully, like, this YouTube channel can help me out with that. But anyway, hope you enjoyed, and that's the end of this video, because I do not know how to end videos. See you later.